Usually we start these off with intro music. Well, I guess it's actually, we started off with silence and Dakota and I fiddling around, and then we transitioned into some random bullshit conversation about, let's see. Well, last time he was trying to convince me to marry him, like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Frank and Charlie get married for insurance money. I don't know, benefits. He said there was some kind of benefit. Uh, I don't agree. I don't think there is. There's a lot of stuff going on in the news right now, and as you're listening to this, I'm actually in Las Vegas celebrating a birthday party, um, and I'm not going to be tuned into anything that's happening, frankly. I'm going to be tuned up really nicely, but not tuned in to anything in particular. A lot of stuff going on. Doge is now down 70% since Elon Musk was on Saturday Night Live. Bitcoin has turned negative for the year. So we're seeing a little, I wouldn't say recession. I wouldn't even say a dip. It's just a pause in crypto. And a lot of other stuff is going on. As we've talked about on Drinker Bros a number of times, we're not able to get our hands on PlayStations or trucks or all sorts of other stuff because semiconductor processors are not being released from China for whatever reason, whether it's the global supply chain or whether they're fucking with us. I mean, you never know, right, with those guys, what they're up to, the government at least over there. There is, in Israel, they're actually discussing something they're referring to as a digital shekel, which is essentially, I wouldn't say it's cryptocurrency, but it is a digital currency. I don't know that much about it. I just know they're trying to digitize their currency now, so that's pretty interesting. A lot of stuff is going on with big tech, with the supply chain for big tech, which primarily comes from Southeast Asia, and the economy. The job report was pretty decent, I guess, for this past month rather. It's amazing what happens when you allow people to work, right? Jobs come back. Now, this is the topic of the show today because while the opportunity for employment is coming back, it seems like people aren't going back to work. So I just dealt with this week. And last weekend, a lot of other people did as well with American Airlines having to cancel hundreds of flights all the way through mid-July due to worker shortages, oddly enough. They tried to keep quiet about it at first and just cancel stuff and say, oh, it's a combination of staffing and maintenance issues. It wasn't. It was they could not staff the planes, and the maintenance issue was they couldn't staff the maintenance positions either. The airline is projecting 50 to 120 cancellations per day between now and July 15th, unless they are open to fill all their open job positions. Now, these are typically, airline jobs are typically one, steady employment, and two, pretty well-paying jobs, more so than you're going to get. I mean, it's not like you have to have some kind of special qualification, right? You have to have a clean record, I suppose, but you don't need to have a specific degree for this stuff. So it's not like, you're not qualified for it. It's not like these people aren't qualified for it. It's that the people won't take the job. So industries across the country. It's not just American. So I'll tell you this little anecdote. I had a flight, direct flight from Austin to Vegas Wednesday night of this week. And a couple days before, I started hearing all this shit about flights being canceled. Someone I know was supposed to fly to Hawaii, and the morning of, she gets to the airport, and they let her know that her flight has been canceled. And I guess she didn't receive the notification, but that's obviously it's not cheap to fly to Hawaii. It's also not cheap to buy lodging and all the other stuff you would do there. And typically, because from the middle part of the country, it's about a 7+ hour flight, people go for an extended period of time. So she probably asked off work and all this other stuff. And then my particular situation, I canceled my flight as soon as I started hearing all these stories, and rebooked on Southwest, because Southwest is probably the most, other than Alaska Airlines on the West Coast, Southwest is probably the most reliable, to be honest. They have a massive fleet. But it's not just the airlines. Industries across the country have struggled to find employees as businesses begin to return to normal after downsizing or closing outright during the pandemic. So a lot of these companies, airlines included, cut way down on their staffing. And then airlines, being who they are, airlines are like the shittiest companies on earth. They will routinely overbook. Like, you couldn't do that in any other industry. You couldn't overbook. You couldn't double sell a truck and then offer somebody a shittier truck a couple of hours from now, and they don't have an option, right? I mean, you just couldn't. It doesn't work that way in any other industry. So airlines are notorious for this horse shit. So what they did, they started booking out all these flights for the summer that they didn't have staffing for, and now American is not able to fucking staff them. Now, I don't know if they booked more flights to beef up during the summer than the other companies did, or if they're having trouble hiring people and the other companies aren't. I would love to know that. I don't know which the case is right now, but I would be super interested in hearing about that. So if any of you guys work for any of the airlines or know anything about that, let me know, because that would be interesting. According to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, it's not a problem of jobs, by the way. According to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, there are currently 1.4 available workers for every job opening in America. The current the cause of labor shortage is currently being debated, but as it is with most things, I'm sure there are a variety of contributing factors. I mean, nothing is ever simple. Why would it be? Why would it be simple? And it's important to look in the nuance. Like, people on the left would say, there have been a number of articles actually that we don't have a labor shortage. People are reimagining what labor in America is. Like, yeah, that's great. That's a great idea. Let's go ahead and do what Europe does and have 6 weeks off every year, and then be in a massive 25-year recession. That sounds like a good idea. Like, get the fuck out of here. That's dumb. And on the right, people would say that if you keep people on the stimulus check tit for a year plus, where they're making more than they were making at their previous job, why the hell would they go back to work? And that's, frankly, a pretty legitimate answer. And I suppose it probably could be a combination of both. But let's get into some of the numbers. In February of 2020, just before the pandemic, the unemployment rate was 3.5%. Which is the lowest it's been in my lifetime, I think. Certainly in this century. And it was the best for black and brown people ever. We had the most racist president of all time in office, so that's hard to believe that he would have created such a great economy for minorities in America, but I guess maybe it was just a fluke. Who knows? So in February 2020, it was 3.5%. By the end of March 2020, unemployment had climbed to 5.9% and has steadily risen until it peaked, it steadily rose until it peaked in April of 2020 when all the shutdowns started. So since April of 2020, the unemployment rate has been on a steady decline. May, it was 13.3%. June, 11.1%. This is 2020. July 10.2, August 8.4, September 7.8, October 6.5, November 6.7, December 6.7, and then January of 21, 6.3, February of 21, 6.2, March of 21, 6%, April of 21, it went up a little bit to 6.1%. And then May of 21, back down to 5.8%, which is, I believe, about where it was when Obama left office. I think it was right around 6. And then Trump got it down to 3.5. So it's been 1 week since you looked at me. No, that's not right. It's been on a steady decline as people have been going back to work. I mean, you can see the major spikes or dips, rather, and they'll coincide with when Florida opened back up fully, when Texas opened back up fully, and so on and so forth. And now you'll see what we should anticipate seeing is another major dip from May's rate of 5.8. I don't know about June, but in July, after a month of California being back open again, we should see, because it's the largest employment state in the country, we should see it go down somewhere in the low 5s, right? So the economy is still relatively strong in that way. Where it's not strong is inflation. We've spent so much money trying to fix this problem, and I say fix and problem in quotations because nobody fixed anything, and I'm not sure there was ever a real problem. By the way, the WHO put out a statement this week saying that children should not get vaccinated. That's not a conspiracy theory. It's on the WHO.int website. It said we don't have enough data, and also they don't really suffer any of the effects, so why do it? Now, that's a rational, reasonable thing to say, but I'm sure posting it on social media would get you flagged right now, even though the World Health Organization are the ones that put that information out. But anyways, moving on from that. Some more data. Blue-collar industries are struggling with labor shortages more than white-collar, obviously. I mean, that's always going to be the case. 85% of blue-collar companies report recruiting difficulties. 64% of white-collar report recruiting difficulties. So a good 20% higher. 23% of white-collar companies report having no recruitment or retention difficulties, though, which is pretty high. I mean, that's... I don't know how they divide between blue and white-collar jobs. Is it like based on pay, or is it the type of job? Like a welder can make a couple $100,000 a year, but especially underwater welding, like you make really, really good money, $300,000-$400,000 a year in some cases. Is that still considered blue collar just because it's manual labor? I don't know. So, anyways, according to the most recent statistics, as of January 23rd, 20.4 million people were receiving unemployment benefits. Jesus Christ. There's 180 million adults in this country, right? So that's 1 out of 9. 11% of the workforce was receiving unemployment benefits. Holy shit. That's fucking crazy. I mean, there's 180 adults. I don't know how many are eligible for work. That's not including retirees, so it's more than 11%. Top 5 states with the highest levels of unemployment. No surprise, Hawaii, California, New York, New Mexico, and Connecticut. All heavy blue states, right? No surprise there. The modern liberal does some things well, but something that liberals in general have never done well is maintain an economy. It's not one period in all of American history have they been good at that, so far as I can tell. California and Pennsylvania have seen the sharpest spike in unemployment recently, as of the week of June 12th, so 2 weeks ago. California had 15,712 new claims, and Pennsylvania had 21,590 new claims. I don't know why, at this point, you would be seeing new claims, unless it was a bunch of, I could see a bunch of bars and restaurants and retail stores that came back and then realized they didn't have what it took to stay open right now and had to close shop. I could see that for sure. Because we have seen that. The coffee shop next to my house, Epic Coffee, I think it's called. They were open. I mean, I moved into my new place, like 2 or 3 months ago, 3 months ago, something like that. And they've been open up until about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then they closed and said, we're done forever. So maybe that's common throughout the country. I don't know. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is, right? What are you going to do? Um, I just don't. I don't know how you find the like. How do you motivate people to come back if this is indeed the case? If people are certainly so used to getting unemployment benefits that they're just not going to go back to work. I mean, obviously, cutting off the benefits is part of it, but then there's typically a lag time, right? I mean, it takes you don't just go out and get a job the same day. It usually takes 2, 3 weeks, maybe a month, right? I mean, to go through the whole process, maybe more, depending on what kind of job you're in. If you're in a position where you're getting a job that requires background checks and security clearances and shit like that, it could be even longer. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with all that. I do know that the government's spending money at record levels. A funny aside that we'll probably have talked about on fake news yesterday is that Biden just put in his request for police funding for the year, and it's double what Trump requested in any of his years in office. Atlanta has now requested more. Atlanta was the last one. They were the last major city that ran a defund the police campaign that's now having to come back to the well and request more money for police because, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's either Portland or Atlanta where murder is up 500%. I don't remember which one it is, but either way, they're fucked right now. And, the liberal idea is that you can spend your way out of trouble. There's this old saying from, I don't know if it was FDR or somebody in his cabinet, but it said if you're in a recession, pay people to dig holes and then pay them to fill them back up because they'll put money back into the economy. And that might sound like the government giving handouts to people and blah, 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 but it's no different than the fucking $300 tax check, right? Or stimulus checks that Republicans have done in the past. It's just a different methodology for doing it. So let's not get all crazy and start accusing people of shit. Just you don't need to get involved in all that. Restaurant industry in particular has been crippled rather by staffing shortages. I'm looking at it's so again, not just airlines. Fully open Minneapolis, for example. A lot of bars in the Twin Cities, a lot of restaurants. State officials say about 1,500 people were hired last month. Just less than half were in hospitality and many in the restaurant industry. But as WCCO found out, WCCO is the local CBS affiliate for Minneapolis, turning applicants into workers isn't as easy as you might think. Now, this is what we're talking about. So a quote from Niall Flynn, who is an executive chef at some restaurant. As executive chefs, it's our job to take cooks and turn them into sous chefs. Take sous chefs, turn them into chefs. That's how you keep the industry going for a long time. Out of the 12 interviews he's had, three showed up. Out of the 12, 9 didn't call or show up or anything. And while he's had an increase in people calling, he's seen a decrease in people actually showing up. About 1/3 of the people who call to make appointments are actually showing up. Now, I can tell you exactly why this is. Because when you're on unemployment, and a lot of you probably know this, to continue qualifying for unemployment post-pandemic or pre-pandemic, you have to show that you're actively looking for work, which means setting up interviews, so on and so forth. And basically, they don't have the regulatory capabilities to call and check on if you went to the appointment or not. So you just have to set the thing up. You forward the appointment email or screen capture it and send it to your rep at the Bureau of Labor or whatever your state does, and that's pretty much the end of it. So you got to do like 3 a week, I think. You have to apply for 3 jobs a week, and as long as you do that, you continue to qualify for unemployment. So there's no mystery what's happening here, in my opinion. Definitely not a mystery. Another guy in Stephen Hess in Minneapolis has booked 150 separate interviews. Or I'm sorry, 100 people have applied. They're looking for jobs and that he has set up interviews for. Only half a dozen have shown up. So 6 out of 150 have even shown up. People don't want the job, right? I mean, the people in Minneapolis are pretty liberal, so the guy says, I don't know if it's the unemployment benefits. It's hard to say because you just don't know. We've had 50 places fighting for 2 people that actually want to come back to work, so it's tough. I mean, he's saying it without saying it, right? You describe the situation, and it is exactly what it looks like. It is people who are making more money by sitting around with their thumb up their butt and filling out 3 job applications a week and getting paid whatever the fuck they're getting paid for it. More than they ever would have made on unemployment in the past. And certainly more than they would make tax-free, by the way. And look, I'm sure a lot of people are concerned about this stuff. People know that those deferred student loans and rent payments are coming due. All these people that were living comfortably and, worry-free for the last year, all that discomfort and all that worry is now going to come down to a singularity, a single point. And I'll tell you this, guys, if you're out there and you're thinking like that, I promise you that bad news does not get better with time. It only gets worse. You know what I mean? It's like a fire. If you don't put it out, it's going to spread. Like herpes. Well, you can't put out herpes. I guess. I don't know. I don't know enough about herpes. I should learn some more about herpes. But I also don't want to search the internet for that because then somebody's going to come across my fucking search history at some point and be like, oh, fucking Dan's got herpes. No, I don't. Anyways. What? Giorgio does, yeah. Well, I mean, you look like you probably do. Like, I don't know if you do or not, but you definitely look like you do. So, if I had to guess. But you don't judge a book by its cover. So, you might have something way worse than herpes, for example. I don't know what that would be. But whatever. All right. So, a lot of stuff going on. Giorgio, we've had no real issues finding people, but I mean we're in a pretty niche industry, and this is like quality labor, yeah, for sure, has been difficult to find, but that's always the case, right? I mean, in this field, finding quality labor, because in media production, quality means 1, you got to know what you're doing. 2, you have to be able to translate a task into the implied task also. Like if I tell you 4 things to do, you have to know that, well, I also have to do these 3 things to make those 4 things look right or make them possible or whatever the case is. And then they have to be a culture fit because we're kind of assholes. We do a lot of wild shit around here. So I guess for us it might be a little bit more difficult than other places. But certainly just the technical skills have been an issue. And we've managed to find enough for now. We need some more people, but we've managed to get by. But I think a lot of people are having trouble with that. Like, I don't know. The thing that worries me is that, again, with if it's hospitality, like that's where we are now. We're in an information and hospitality economy, right? We're in an economy where most people work in tech or hospitality in some form, or you're a creator yourself. But I would say the creator economy is probably only 5% of people. And yeah, service and hospitality, and then fucking IT, right? That's the vast majority of jobs. And then you have some larger industries like truck drivers. There's about 3 to 5 million of those. There's about 1 million police. So, there's some big industries out there that probably are not affected that much. I don't know how much truck drivers have been affected by this. I mean, the supply chain Amazon's been on fire, so I'm guessing truck drivers are doing all right. My understanding is we have a shortage of truck drivers right now. So maybe they're still looking for people too. But I mean, that's a good industry to be in, to be honest.
Highest paying job for a non-college graduate.
Yeah, it is the high. Giorgio's off camera saying it's the highest paying job that exists for a non-college grad. That's true. Well, except for working for yourself, I guess, but like a standard job, yeah, for sure. Before we move on to the rest of this data, I'm going to go through the sponsors for today. The first one is, you heard about the pre-rolls, Cartomax. Go to cartomax.com, use the promo code American, you get a BOGO, buy one, get one free. It's they've got all sorts of stuff. I drink this right here is the immunity booster. They've got all kinds of different supplements. They got the immunity boosters. They have energy drinks, right? Little pouch, liquid in it. You can put it in anything you want. Water, booze, whatever you want to do. So use that stuff. Next up, obviously, ghostbed.com/drinkerbros. They've been with us for a long time. I think 5 years now. We've met with them, hung out with them. We have their products. I mean, Matt Best has a couple of their beds. Jared's got 3. Ross has 3. I've got currently 2, but I've purchased 3 or 4 of my own. Just bought another, and they're the best. I mean, it's the most comfortable bed I've ever slept on. Good deals, 30% off everything using the code Drinker Bros. And they've got the best sheets, the best pillows. They got the 3D Matrix and the Lux, both of which are cooling mattresses for a big sweaty dum-dum like me. Really comes in handy. And then, of course, there is the sheets and the pillowcases. The mattress protector is great. The adjustable base is great if you want to turn your bed into a couch when you feel like it. I mean, it's all their products are super high quality. I've never had an issue with any of them. And we've had just a few customer service things over the years, but they've all been resolved pretty much immediately because that's what they do. They take care of people. I mean, Ghostbed, before it was cool to do so, was giving 30% off to vets and first responders after the whole pandemic nonsense. They obviously expanded that to teachers and nurses and all sorts of other stuff. So very good company, good products, and they support the people that support us. So if you're looking for a bed, you're looking for any kind of thing that goes on your bed, mattress, protector, sheets, any of that stuff, go to ghostbed.com/drinkerbros. And, yeah, check those guys out. So one of the main premises that people are using to explain this labor shortage is the effect of unemployment benefits. Some business owners argue that the difficulty in finding workers stems from unemployment benefits being too high. I would say also that the standard for getting them is probably too low, and that the amount of time you can spend on it in our system is too long, and that there's no efficient mechanism for resolving the problem. Unemployment benefits are basically like a long-term treatment that only treats symptoms and doesn't affect a cure at any point. For example, Sweden, if you go on unemployment, they consider it the government's job, not the government at large, but that particular piece of the government that handles that, to make sure you get a job. So if your industry is dying and you're displaced because of that, because of creative destruction or whatever it is, they'll get you trained back up and put into a new job. And there's no time limit on unemployment benefits. It takes the time it takes to make sure that the workforce is settled. Now, I know that's unpopular with a lot of people, and it's unpopular when you're talking about education as well, or healthcare, to have the government involved in general, which I agree with. It's problematic because the government sucks. It's also a problem that they're super inefficient. They try to leverage their political ideology in exchange for those benefits, and all sorts of other shit goes down. But it is something that they're right about one thing, and that is that the goal should be the goal. The goal of healthcare should be that everybody is as healthy as we can possibly make them, regardless of the cost, right? The goal of education is that we should produce the highest or the best educated people on earth for the economy that we have, right? Specifically for our economy. That should be the goal. And there's implied stuff from that goal as well. One of the implications is that the purpose of having a strong and educated workforce is because motivated and educated people produce higher quality products more efficiently. And when they feel equity in that, they do so at an even higher rate. So what's the benefit of that? The benefit of that is they continuously spend money into a cyclical economy, and it keeps the cost of goods low in the same way that buying bulk orders at Costco keeps the cost of goods low, right? If more people have the ability to buy more shit, then all of that shit collectively costs less money to create, to transport, than to buy. It's how it works, right? It's not about collectivism. It is about buying in bulk. We're buying labor in bulk at this point, right? Because we want them to buy products in bulk. It makes sense. And I know a lot of you are not thrilled about the idea of canceling student loan debt. And frankly, if it's the government paying for that, I'm completely against it as well. But telling the banks and the universities that have been profiteering off of these people, and the universities that have overcharged with a 2,000% increase in administrative fees in the last 25 years, if they're the ones losing the money, completely fine with it. Fuck those guys. Actually, the Supreme Court just lit the NCAA up big time for violating all sorts of laws over the years, for not allowing these student athletes to profit off their own likeness and so on and so forth. So it looks like the court is on that side of history, which is good, because you can imagine there's probably going to be some kind of case that goes up there soon. My point in all that is this. If our economy is strongest when 25 to 30-year-olds are entering the professional work market, able to save a little bit of money, get first-time starter home mortgages, that is what makes your mortgage as a 35 or 45 or 55-year-old person cost less money. By them buying starter homes, right? And by more people having higher credit, it makes the aggregate credit of all Americans higher. It makes the housing market more healthy, which means you can buy at a better rate and you can build equity. The most equity that the average American builds is through their home. Buying a home and then the equity in your home, that's how most Americans build the most amount of wealth. So we're telling this next generation, because we had to walk uphill in the snow both ways to go to school, that, just figure it out. Fucking you're the one that decided to do it at 17 or 18 years old to get this stupid degree for $120,000, so fuck you. Well, it's not fuck you, it's fuck all of us. Because now my house costs more because you want to be a fucking hard ass. Like, what kind of fucking sense are you're gonna die on that hill? You're gonna stand up on that principle and be a dick about that and run that into the ground because you want to feel righteous about not having made a bad decision, even if it fucks you over financially forever. That doesn't make any sense. That's fucking stupid. And if you're out there and you think like that, that's fucking stupid. I'm telling you right now that it's dumb. Same thing with healthcare. If you think that it is okay to tell people they can be as healthy as they can afford to be in this country or any country, that is unethical. That's a horrible way to think about fucking healthcare. And there are real effects from that. The effects are poor people use the emergency room like a clinic, making your costs go up. That's it. That is it. And in health insurance, healthcare in general is a pool. When we're talking about bulk purchasing, having the most amount of financially healthy people that can spend that money on making themselves physically healthy makes all of our financial and physical health better and more efficient and cheaper. This is an investment in your community. So don't tell me how much you care about people. Don't tell me how much you're invested in the country and how patriotic you are if you're telling people they can be as healthy as they can afford to be, or if you're telling 22-year-olds that were duped into buying these shitty fucking college degrees that, just deal with it. Because that is stupid as fuck. You're ignorant. You're fucking yourself up by thinking that. I understand that people have to take some personal responsibility at some point, right? And we'll deal with that when it's time to deal with it. But right now, we're fucking flushing the economy of this country down the goddamn drain. All these people that were 25 to 35 that in the past had expendable income, that were going on vacations and buying starter homes, are now giving it to banks with interest. With banks. The banks that fuck you over, the Chase Bank that only wants to hire black people now because it's woke to do it, the fucking universities that want to teach critical race theory to your children, right? Those are the people getting this money. Those are the people that you're fucking fighting for to not have these student loan debt wiped out. Are you fucking kidding me? Choose a fucking side that makes sense, all right? If you want to suck the dicks of the bank and the universities, these liberal fucking bullshit universities, then fucking do it. Have fun with that bullshit. Live that goddamn life, but be prepared for the consequences of it, because they're coming. Sorry, that was a fucking 15-minute rant. I am fucking pissed off about this shit. Anyways, the effect of unemployment benefits. Quite a few people, I don't know if most, but certainly a plurality of people are able to make the same amount of money, and in a lot of cases even more, just from unemployment benefits than they were making before this whole pandemic thing started. Now, that's been the case for some industries with unemployment in the past, but with the expanded unemployment benefits, the kickers, all the other stuff for kids and stuff like that, it's grown to be an even bigger problem. And frankly, if I'm a single mother on unemployment, getting a kicker for my kid, and for the first time I've been able to actually take care of my kid, and now I'm worried about the rent coming due, I'm worried about childcare when I go back to work and all this other stuff. I mean, you're in between a rock and a hard place in that regard. Like, do you give your kid less time, less money, or do you keep milking the system, I guess? I mean, obviously I know what I would do. I'm an austere kind of guy, but it reminds me of Christian Bale in Batman Begins, where I think Liam Neeson's character is asking him about crime, and he said, the first time I had to steal bread so I didn't starve to death, it made me rethink the nature of right and wrong. And there is that old anecdote, would you steal bread to feed your hungry kid? And to be honest, I think if the answer is not yes to that, then you might have some fucking problems. So we've set the situation up where people feel like, at least, even whether it's reality or not, they feel like they have to steal bread to feed their children or take care of them or whatever. So, not excusing it. It's a fucked up situation that should never have happened in the first place. And it happened because there's a lot of stupid motherfuckers out there that believed the Democrats when they said shit was free. It's not free. The bill always comes due, my man. So now people are essentially being paid not to work. Neil Bradley, the chief policy officer at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, said that the benefits aren't the only reason for the labor shortage, however, but he says it definitely is a reason. Absolutely is a reason. The benefits do appear to have a measurable effect on the shortage, as internet searches for jobs noticeably increase after a state announces it would end pandemic benefits early. So that happened in 5 or 6 states that were still holdouts, that were still using pandemic level benefits. The data suggests that within a week of the announcement that the benefits are going to get cut off, people start actually searching, like the searches on Indeed and other sites like that for jobs exponentially increase. Of course they do. Fucking of course they do. People have an option now, and when you take that option away, they'll find a new option. That's just the way it is. It seems cruel in a lot of ways. So I described that situation of the single mom with the kid who's taking care of it and blah, blah, blah. It seems cruel to tell that person, hey, you know what? You've actually got to fucking go back to work. But it's not cruel. If you don't work, you don't eat. That's the expectation in this country. It's the expectation in pretty much every country throughout human history. I mean, that you don't work, you don't eat principle is from Asian philosophical literature from about 4,000 years ago, I believe, and then it was in the Bible as well. Not new by any stretch of the imagination. It's not neoliberalism to expect people to have to work, or I'm sorry, neocapitalism or any of this stuff, or even classical liberalism to expect people to work for what they're given. That's just the expectation for all human beings. So it is what it is, right? I mean, this is the expectation. It sucks to discipline your child. Like, I don't feel good about that with my girl's kid. If he does something stupid, having to fucking tell him he's being stupid. But it feels a lot better to do that than it does to just let him do what he wants and then see what happens. Like, you don't want to have a shithead adult be the result of you being too afraid or too friendly with your child. And in the same way, I don't want this hypothetical single mom or anybody else or our economy at large or our culture at large to suffer from this unnecessarily because we didn't have the fucking balls to do something about it. So according to CNN, a lot of workers are saying the same stuff. They're saying that the jobs that are available right now pay too little or require skills and certifications they don't currently have, making unemployment benefits more lucrative. Now, I wonder about that. I wonder if because of the austerity necessary to come back, because a lot of businesses tried to stay open during the pandemic for a while, realized they couldn't, and then shut down after. They probably lost a lot of capital. A lot of these places are mom and pop, where they own one business or two or three locations for one business, but it's still relatively small. They're spending their own money to bring these businesses back, right? I mean, if you've never run your own business, typically you're looking at 30 to 90 days after you start the work process that you start receiving all the revenue for that work process. So up to 3 months that you're coming out of your pocket paying people, because salaries to employees get paid weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, regardless. You can't not pay your employees. You can't pay your rent, or you can't not pay your rent, your power. If you're a restaurant, you got to go buy the food and all blah, 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 all this stuff, right? So there's a lot that goes in on the front end of that stuff. So maybe they are reducing wages right now. If that's the case, we have hundreds of brilliant economists in this country. And when situations like that happen, I don't understand why somebody doesn't just tell them what to do. Hey, all you businesses, develop a plan where you tell these people and give them a contract to that effect that, hey, because of X, Y, and Z front-end costs, we're going to pay you this amount for the first 3 months, and then afterwards we will increase your salary, and over the next year we'll make up for the first 3 months. And here's a contract saying that. Easy. Fucking done. And it may not convince people to come back to work, but it'll at least take that excuse out of their fucking toolbox, right? And that's what people do, right? These people that are fucking shiftless layabouts, that's what they do. They're looking for any excuse. And you know people like this, right? Oh, I don't know. I mean, it was just like 5 minutes farther than my other job, so I didn't want to go. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Dude, get off your fucking ass. Some other stuff going on are some of the theories, rather, about all this is that there's a shrinking labor pool. I don't know about this, but I know that truck drivers have been dealing with this for a while. I think there's 2.5 or 3 million truck drivers or something like that, and there's like 2 million open truck driver positions, something like there's, I know it's like 30 or 40% of the available truck driver positions are open at any given time, and that's been going on for a very long time, like decades. So maybe that is partially true. Some argue that the benefits are not the root cause, as there was already a growing labor shortage before the pandemic. The mass retirement of baby boomers is bringing growth in the working age population to a halt, which is a trend that we expect to continue through 2030. America's never faced such a large number of retirements, almost zero growth in the working age population before. So we have more people that are older on retirement benefits, less people that are actually in the workforce as a portion of our adult population. This is the first time in American history that that's happened. And obviously it's because people actually set up retirement plans in the baby boomer generation, so they're out of the workforce now. A lot of people before that worked until they just fucking died. I would say the majority of people probably did that, especially blue-collar folks. Now, that's not the case, and we're having issues with Social Security and all sorts of other stuff because of it, right? Current data shows that the population of working-aged people has begun to shrink, leading to a smaller number of possible employees. The number of working-age people with a bachelor's degree, by the way, is increasing by 2% per year, leading to a massive shortage of unskilled labor. So truck driver positions, for example. We as a society put so much emphasis on a 4-year college degree. And that's great. But if you're going to work in IT even, most people that I know that worked in IT through the 90s didn't even have a degree. Most people that I knew in the 2000s up until relatively recently only had an associate's degree. But education became an industry instead of a tool. Profit motive was introduced. And the powers that be, when they see there's money to be made, when they get put on the boards of universities, the boards of companies, they start making these deals. They start it's always all about money, right? But the reality is there are jobs in the blue market economy that will make you way more money without the need for massive loans that any job you're going to get in IT will make you, unless you're a creator yourself. Just nonsense. We've lied to people quite a bit. I mean, that's nothing new for this country. We do that a lot. But we've lied to people about education for a while, and Republicans didn't say shit until education turned liberal. When they were just fleecing people for their money, that was fine. But once it started going to the left, then people started to care. That's the problem, right? It's binary politic bullshit. Wrong is wrong and right is right. I'll say it again. We spent so much time trying to fight between right and left. We never stopped to think about fighting for what's right. And now we're getting close to being pretty fucked here. So here's some other contributing factors to this. Some people have reported that school closures and lack of childcare prevented them from getting steady employment. Now that is probably true. Childcare is expensive as shit. There are actually a lot of, especially in poor areas, and remember, poor areas are typically run by liberals, and that means that those places stay closed longer, especially in poor areas. Childcare is a fucking problem. $800 a month is about as low as you can expect that to be, and then for some people, that's a large portion of their check. And in a lot of inner city areas, schools stayed open during the summer even, for like childcare programs that were subsidized, for all sorts of stuff, for lunches for kids that couldn't get lunch otherwise, like breakfast. And a lot of these schools in the inner city were serving breakfast and lunch to children that couldn't have it before, and they couldn't do it because of the shutdown. But it wasn't just that they couldn't do that. I mean, that's bad enough. The other part is their parents couldn't go back to work when they wanted to, because you can't leave a fucking 3-year-old at home alone. You can't leave a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old home alone. You can't, right? Nearly 7.3 million adults say they aren't working because they have to stay home to take care of their children. America's seen an increase in the number of people not working due to various disabilities as well, almost all of whom lack a college education. I don't know why there would be a run on the disability market all of a sudden. Like, have people become more disabled during the pandemic? That's weird. I don't think I've heard that one. Young men without college degrees are now less prevalent in the workforce due to them being more likely to be single and live with their parents later and have less of a need to earn income. That's not good. But it ties in with all the other stuff that's going on with dudes right now. There's been a 40% decrease in testosterone over the last 25 years. And our company resilient. We'll be operational pretty soon. You can fucking get on that and fix those problems yourselves. Um, a lot of the guys in First Special Forces groups are switching over to Dr. Frank right now. A lot of guys in 3rd and 5th as well. Some other units that don't necessarily have names, but these guys are on the cutting edge of this type of stuff. So it doesn't surprise me that, like, it doesn't surprise me. Women mature faster than men do. They have to, right? Because there's more socially expected of them. So mentally and socially, they just have to mature faster. Young men without college degrees are working stupid, shitty jobs and hanging out with their parents. We have a lack of leadership. Scott Galloway shouldn't be fucking mentoring young men. We don't need dudes that can't get erections. You know what I mean? We don't need fucking pussies who think that masculinity is somehow problematic. We need people who know what masculinity is, what power is, and what it's meant to do. It is meant to provide, which you can't do when you're living with your parents, and protect, which you can't do if you're a fucking pussy. Wake up, guys. So, in closing, here are some of the attempted solutions so far that American businesses have, as a result of the labor shortage, implemented to change the game up a little bit. Some people have tried to increase wages, which, look, that's probably the most important thing you can do. You can spend your way. If you're a business and you're trying to get employees, sometimes you have to overspend to get employees. That's just how it is, especially if you're in a unique business or in a unique situation. But we'll see how that goes. Increase social media efforts. I don't expect that'll work. Why would it? That just makes it easier for people to document their fake attempt to get a job. Increase schedule flexibility. I assume that would be good for people who need childcare and stuff like that, or people who are going to school concurrently or whatever. Expanding recruiting demographic. Now, this is the one. These next two are the ones that really I think will work. So, expanded recruitment demographic and expanded training programs. That isn't the recruitment demographic doesn't mean they're going to start trying to recruit more of a different race or gender or any of that bullshit. It means instead of 3 to 5 years of experience, now they're kicking that back down to 1 year of experience, or maybe even less, right? And providing more on-the-job training. We have found over the last 25 years that the vast majority of these fucking 4-year college degrees, one, could have been done in 2 years, and two, are in other cases, probably less so this one, but in a lot of cases aren't even necessary. The vast majority of people who came up in the tech industry in the 80s, 90s didn't have a degree at all because there was no degree for any of this shit. They were in the Navy or the fucking Air Force and they worked on crypto machines or nuclear subs or whatever it was. And they're just like, oh, you're the only people, like my uncle. He was in the Navy after Vietnam in the late 70s and early 80s and worked for IBM for 35 years afterwards. Started his own tech company, made fucking tons of money with no degree. Never went to college.
And by crypto, you mean cryptography?
Cryptography, not cryptocurrency, yeah.
Well, what cryptocurrency is built off of that?
Yeah, cryptocurrency is, Giorgio was saying off camera that cryptocurrency as it exists today is built off cryptography tech, basically. And is true. And all the stuff, like your fucking iPhone, the cryptography that the Navy was doing in the early 80s is what secures your phones as of 1998 forward. Like the same tech that was implemented in 98 on some of those original phones still exists on your phone today. As a matter of fact, there's still a backdoor exploit that the government can use to read all your shit. I don't know if you saw that in the news this week. But anyways, I think those two, expanded recruitment demographic and expanded training programs, the fact that they're even suggesting this stuff is an admission that all this stuff that's been going on in education for years has been not only a boondoggle, but it's been theft, outright theft. It's just nonsense. And it's to our own detriment. I just don't understand the mentality. Like if If somebody's house is right next to yours and they set it on fire accidentally, are you going to sit there and be like, man, you're fucking dumb for setting your house on fire? You know what? Just live with it. Live with that fire. And then it's going to burn your fucking house down too. You're an asshole and a stupid one at that if you fucking believe that shit. Some of the other stuff they're doing, shorten interview process. Again, lower experience and skills requirements, lower degree requirements, reduction of employee workload. All this stuff is being recommended. I think some of it could work. We'll see. We'll see. But eventually, you absolutely have to cut off the benefits. I mean, it's like a stray cat. If you keep feeding it, it's always going to come back until you stop feeding it. That's it, right? I mean, why would it leave? That would be very stupid for the cat to leave if you're going to continue feeding it for free. So there you have it. We'll be back next week with some pretty interesting stuff as well. Hope everybody has a good weekend and you can go fuck yourself. I'll see you in hell.